So I decided to fish the over 50s festival at Westwood with Pat Cooper, and we stopped just off the site at Apple Tree Lodges. Absolutely beautiful lodges and really good value for money as well. And I fished it for the first time last year and I really enjoyed it. Just a unique venue, Westwood Lakes. You're on a peg, every peg you draw you're on fish. It's just actually figuring out how to catch them. I know we say this with all commercials, but at Westwood you visibly see a lot of the fish that are in your peg, and sometimes it can be frustrating when you can't catch, and you know, once you get to know the venue, you accept it for what it is. So the Over 50s Festival is a 3-day festival, 110 in it, so a really good attendance, a sellout as well. They sell out the year before the tickets, that's how popular they are. And 3 rotations, 3 days, and I stopped, as I say, just off the site with Pat. I didn't get a chance to practice, just turned up in the morning, and on the first day I drew Osprey peg 2, which was the end peg, but the wind was blowing down to the bottom end, and I had £91, and obviously with it being my first match there, I've only ever fished Osprey once before, which was about 6-7 years ago, so it's completely different now, different size fish in it as well. There was a £93, the £110 won it off the end peg in my section in the middle of the strip, and I was told that they were the pegs that I was going to have to try and beat to win my section, or at least get good points. So third in section I was quite happy with, to be honest with you, but I felt as if I could have definitely got second. You know, £93 was second. If I'd have known the peg and the lake a little bit better, I think even £110 was possible from where I was. And that's what makes that place interesting. You know, you're always kicking yourself after the match. So third in the section, and then the second day, which is the day I videoed. Now, I only videoed one day just simply because of the time. I'm just getting everything ready in time. I didn't have the time to get everything set up, my camera, do an intro or anything. And this is why I'm doing a bit of an intro now about the event and the match that I videoed. And I really enjoyed it. I drew a good area there. I drew 36 on Skylark. And I actually drew 38 on Skylark a few weeks back in the Fishermania qualifier. Didn't fish it right. I don't think I could have won the match, but I could have definitely had more fish in that qualifier. I had an £80. Luke Bamford won that straight from the MPEG with £138. It just felt as if I could have had more, but just learned a lot about the venue, where to fish and where I should have fished when I was driving home. So come this particular match, the second day of the Over 50s Festival, I had a lovely day's fishing. So there's a little bit of footage of me fishing on casters short in front of me on an F1 kit and a short 3 right in front of the nets. And I'm feeding casters, I'm fishing worm on the hook, ligging a bit of line on the bottom, waiting for positive bites. And then fishing down the margins with casters again, and fishing worms on the hook. And I just literally rotated between those 2 lines. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and then I'll just do a little bit of a recap after the video about how the day went on and how I ended up catching. Okay.
thought so.
Go in the middle next, we'll go in, mate. Ready? Yeah. Yes, mate, okay. You what? You've got a sim or you've more than that? I've got too small net. Sorry, they've just gone dodger. Sorry, net skeleton. I'm not just attracting people away. Back in. Yeah, okay, mate. That's his drug sample.
Piss sample by the look of it.
$51.12. Can you get a photo of that one, please? Get a photo of this one. Come on, Jim, out of the way.
Fucking bombing again, ain't you?
Got it, mate. Thank you.
Behind him, I was on the picture. I bombed.
You didn't just fucking do that, but you nasty fucking bloke.
The old fucker like you.
Can't be like that, Tom. I always speak highly of you. Well, sometimes. You don't speak highly of me, I do. Oh, you're alright. You're alright.
39.5. Do it one-handed, Tony, haven't you? Well, that's just the amount, lads. Not over, but it's 57.5, so £55.
Yes. Lucky boy.
I'll put these last two together. $55 for 2 nets. Well done, Nick. Well done, Nick.
How much? There's more than that.
Well done, Nick.
So the match itself, well, a really interesting day, to be honest with you. And like I said to you at the start, my plan was to fish short in front of my keep nets and down the edge, really short. And the reason for that is it calms your peg down. On your short line in front of you, it's quite a silty bottom, whereas where your nets are, it's quite a hard bottom, because that's where your nets are and that's where bait goes in a lot. The fish clean it out. It's a harder bottom, they're easier to catch, but it is still silty in that area, but not as much. So my plan was to fish as close to my keep nets as possible, and as I say, down the edge. But if you fish it short down the edge, it means you calm your peg down, and they're easier to locate as regards to, you kind of like, if you've got the right depth, which I had down the edge, just maybe 18 inches, just under 2 foot, I could, you know, tell when the fish were on my bait feeding. So it allowed me to quickly make that change. So that was my plan, to fish in front of my nets and down the edge, and it worked really well. And I had a really good start down the edge. As soon as the match started, I went down the edge to my right. with casters and worms. I use Willy Worms casters, which just are brilliant quality casters, and work perfect to, especially for this kind of fishing, where sometimes when you lose feeding bait to make noise to bring fish into your peg, bigger casters make a big difference. And I had a good, I'd say first 20 minutes was really good. I had maybe 35, 40 pound. And then on my shoreline in front of me, I couldn't catch. And then I've stopped loose feeding bait. And I've started potting my casters in rather than loose feeding in front of my nets. And it did make a massive difference. So I went down the stealth route then of really quietly cupping in my casters and then fishing single and double worm. And I was using, the rig I used for it was a Malman Beach ST. Now these are, just turn the camera back on again. These are ultra durable for this kind of fishing, you know, where you're fishing hard pellet, worm, nice slim float for that shallow water, so they cut through and register quite quickly. 1.5mm bristle, glass stem, so it's ultra durable, but then it's the same kind of principle as using a wire because it's added weight, so it helps stabilize that float, especially when you've got quite a few fish in your peg. Really shallow in front of the net, so it was 2 1/4 foot. Literally, there's the float and there's the bulk. 2 1/4 foot. So I've got a bulk of number 9s there, going down to a single dropper number 9, and then a 4-inch hook length and a 14 Kaizen. So I was using 019 Aero Slick Silk. Absolutely awesome line, that. So durable. 2 and 017. Quite positive line, simply because of the stamp of the fish. And that was my rig for my line in front of me, fishing worm on the hook, loose feeding and potting in casters. And then for down the edge, my rig was a Malman Adam. These are my favourite edge float of all time. Quite a nice stumpy slim body, but really suitable for margin fishing, where it's a 2mm bristle, slightly thicker bristle, glass stem again, but what I've done is I've trimmed the stem down just a little bit than what they actually come as to help it sit better in shallower water. A 4x14, that is. Nice big heavy float. Like I said to you, 18 inches. Then I've got a bulk of number 8s, loop to loop, 4-inch hook length, and a Kaizen 14 again. 019, 017. That is the setup. Key point, back shot above the float. There's the float, back shot. Just, especially you can imagine that back shot stops the float from moving out when there's fish in your peg. You want to stabilise your bait as much as possible. So they were my 2 rigs. I had a lovely day and I caught really well in the last 2.5 hours in front of me when I figured out how I needed to enter my bait. You know, rather than making loads of noise, I needed to be really quiet once I'd done the job of bringing them there and getting them in my peg, but I needed to pin them down onto the bottom by minimal noise and sort of follow the pot of casters down to the bottom. And the same principle down the edge. And I think I had 28 carp, 27, 28 carp, but I had some big fish for £201, which actually won the match. So it won the lake and of course won the overall match. So I loved it. Absolutely lovely days fishing. And I ended up second in my section on the last day. On Falcon with £124, maybe more or less fished the same way down the edge, but I caught on the mud line across, again feeding casters and fishing worm on the hook. And I missed winning section by £2. So I ended up with third in the section, winning the section, second in the section, 6 points. That got me 8th overall. Really tight. A big well done to Dean Richmond on winning it with 3 points, 3 section wins. And this is the thing, although it's the over 50s, you've got some anglers there that really know how to catch fish on that place. and it's such a unique venue. You can't often put to use what you know on other venues at Westwood, simply because it's so unique, and you have to fish it a different way. You have to feed your bait a different way, and this is what I'm just figuring out with a venue now, and I right enjoy it. Like I said to you at the start, you go into your peg and you know that there's fish there, and often the depth of your peg dictates how you're going to catch those fish and if you're going to catch those fish. So yeah, I had a great festival, a great 3 days with Pat Cooper, really enjoyed it, plenty of laughs, loads of fish, great food. Sorry I didn't do any more videos, presentation or anything like that, but yeah, looking forward to my next visit to Westwood Lakes.